Got it?
Hands up.
Oh, stand back there. Nobody breathe out.
Overload. Here's your call. Sounds like thunder.
Yawn. Yawn.
86 stores.
Yeah.
That was pretty fast.
Everybody that's with me, just kind of pull over. We can identify you.
That's for the yellow and these two boys. Thank you.
Everybody else will be out.
Pretty high up.
There's a Museum of Science over there on the water, those white domes where we saw the IMAX. That bridge where we saw the helicopter crashes straight off in front of you.
Where are we coming? This is the tallest building here.
Yep. See the swan boats down in the Boston Gardens?
This is the tallest building in the state. This is the tallest building
We were going to walk here and we were way over on the other side of those buildings.
Is it?
Way over on the other side.
You know what? Yeah.
What, Joshua?
Yes, it is. It's the tallest building in the city.
That's where the fireworks are going to be from down there, that hat show right there.
How high is the building? Is that the airport?
Yep.
Sweet. See the oil tanker is moving. It's coming over here, Daddy.
Your Whitehill, an architectural historian. In 1959, I wrote a book called Boston, A Topographical History, which tried to explain how, over 3 centuries, Bostonians had converted what had originally been a water-rimmed peninsula into a part of the mainland. As Boston grew, the waterfront was pushed into the harbor, large areas of land were filled, and today, as you look out this window, it is nearly impossible to realize how completely the physical topography of Boston has been changed. The one thing that was present in Boston of 1630 and that is present today is the large green open space that you see directly in the center of the view from this window. That is Boston Common, bought by the Massachusetts Bay Company settlers from the Reverend William Blackstone, an eccentric hermit who had lived here on the Shawmut Peninsula by himself for a number of years. This was Boston Common in the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, and in the 20th centuries. In the 17th and 18th centuries, it was on the outskirts of town.
Yes,
For
yes.
all settlement was between the common and the waterfront. The area between Boston Common and the harbour, as you see it today, is entirely a business region. But in the colonial period, everyone lived there. To the common was added in the 19th century as land.
It was years ago, but fresh in my mind. Let me speak to you now, the people of Boston, of America, and the world. I am John Hancock. The spring of 1770. This town of a mere 20,000 souls thrust its hills to the sea, and its heart toward England. Yes, we were English then, but our king, George III, was ever more the madman, levying harsh taxes and all the while excluding us from Parliament. We were deeply aggrieved. But bloodshed? No. Not until a small civil disturbance incurred the wrath of British mercenaries. I say, off with you! Raising your muskets! A massacre in Boston. 5 martyrs fell at this corner, their lives running crimson in the streets. December 1773. By day, we were farmers, merchants, and mariners, somehow tolerating the red uniforms among us. By night, we met in secret to plan resistance. The Tea Act enraged us all. It gave a monopoly on tea to a crown company with a large tax added on. Our own merchants had no share in this trade. It was decided we should throw a party at Britain's Wharf. To escape recognition, my compatriots dressed and painted themselves as Indians. A colorful prank. The only victims were 342 chests of fine East Indian tea, to steep forever in the bitter brine of Boston Harbor. Our Boston Tea Party maddened the king beyond all reckoning. His punishment was ruthless and swift. He imposed the intolerable acts. The worst of these was the complete blockade of Boston as a port. We became prisoners in our own city. We knew now that an armed struggle lay ahead. We began to prepare for war. April 1775. The eyes and ears of the colonies turned to Boston. For months, we've been storing up munitions in secret caches. British General Gage learned of our whereabouts and prepared to move his troops from Boston to Lexington and then Concord. Would he go by sea, crossing the Charles River to Beechmere, or risk the longer route by land over Boston Neck? By nightfall, we knew. Gage had moved his troops to the water's edge at the foot of the Common. William Dawes, a fine horseman, was dispatched via Boston Neck to warn us of the troop movements. Fellow patriot Paul Revere was ordered to do the same by a different route. Revere informed the sexton of the Old North Church to hang 2 signal lanterns in the steeple. The redcoats would be moving by sea. Crossing to Charlestown by railroad, Revere borrowed a horse and set off toward the western farmlands.
Sailmen at this late hour.
The regulars are about. war began on Lexington Green with just 77 Minutemen. Hunkered down behind walls and trees, they watched the redcoats approach in rank and file. As I heard it from my countrymen who were there, no order to fire was ever given. From one side or the other, it started. They met us again at Concord for another battle. At day's end, the British counted over 200 dead and wounded. Our own losses were light. Could this be a war of such skirmishes? June 16, 1775. Under cover of darkness, our militiamen fortified themselves on Breed's Hill, behind Charlestown. At daybreak, the sight of the fort astonished the British. The order to fire cannon from their frigates and their Cox Hill battery marked the start of the most savage battle ever in this city. Later in the day, General Howe's men moved across the river to prepare for an assault on the rear flank of Breed's Hill. But our rebels in Charlestown caught them by surprise. In retaliation for the insult, General Howe ordered that Charlestown be burned to the ground. Some 400 structures were lost that day. The Breed's Hill became a scene of most promiscuous carnage. My friend Israel Papa gave the order.
Don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes! Pick off the officers first! Fire low!
In time, the British seized the hill, but there was great slaughter on both sides. March of 1776. General Howe held his tyrannical grip on our city. But surrounding us all was General Washington and his Continental Army. On the night of March 4th, Washington moved his cannon, mortars, and soldiers atop Dorchester Heights, easily in range of British positions. What a fearful sight for General Howe. In reckless defiance of good judgment, Howe readied his fleet to attack Dorchester Heights.
Hold fast!
It was as if God himself had lost his patience. The most violent of storms was unleashed upon our city and its forts. Whether the hand of God or simply a gathering of clouds, the storm ended English occupation of Boston. Howe could only choose to evacuate the city. The last of the Redcoats departed Boston on March 17, St. Patrick's Day, never to be seen again. That was years ago. All eyes were on Boston then, a beacon of freedom for patriots and for a new nation. What now for Boston? This city will grow, reclaim land from the sea, expand its borders, become a true citizen of the world. What is Boston if not a crucible of courage, of honor, of dreams fulfilled? Your servant, John Hancock.
There's a thing that will show you years how they filled it in. It's really good that they get it clean.
But that's it, right? On those heels to make the fill all this in.
No, I didn't fill all that in, but this right here is the one that started. Arsenal.
There's that church we saw.